everyone. Welcome to another episode of Medicine 3.0. My name is Dr. Catherine Isaac. I'm a physician and I am the medical director here at Bionic Health. I'm excited to bring you another spotlight on a member. And today we have our first female member, Alex Ladan. She's going to be talking about her journey at Bionic Health. She happens to have a background as an elite gymnast, a competitive gymnast. She also is a researcher that studies female physiology, and she has her degree in exercise physiology. So despite having all that knowledge and experience, she has chosen Bionic Health to help her achieve her health goals. And today she talks about the Bionic Advisor as being a significant impact on helping her choose and achieve her health goals. So we have a comprehensive program here at Bionic Health, and I love that we're talking about how the Bionic Advisor is a big component of that. So I hope you enjoyed the episode, and let's get started. All right, Alex, I'm so excited to have you here. Alex Ladan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex. I'm currently a Bionic Health member. I used to be a gymnast growing up, and then I went into the kinesiology space in undergrad. After that, I realized that I wanted to stay in female health and work in sports science. And so I got my master's at UNC Chapel Hill. That's what kind of brought me over to the Triangle. And now I'm working in clinical research. And so still in the female health space, but get to do a little bit of different projects and consulting and dip my toe kind of everywhere in the health space.
Wonderful. Well, we're so excited to have you on the podcast. You're giving our member testament. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what made you decide to join Bionic Health?
Sure. So I think that a lot of my transition into my master's was interesting. I mean, for one, it was my first time moving away from home, which came with like my first time making doctor's appointments and keeping up with my health. And it was just like a lot to keep track of. And I had a very kind of rigorous schedule with my master's. And I really liked the flexibility of Bionic, but I also really liked the advisor portion of it. And so I felt like I wasn't holding myself accountable to do any of the things, to go see my primary care, or in this case, like transfer my primary care stuff from Illinois to North Carolina. And so that's why I gained interest in it. And then also it brought in the body composition piece, the exercise piece, all of the things that I feel like my traditional provider was never asking me about or never really understood because I was a gymnast and I was active. And so that was good enough. And so that's kind of why I ended up joining in the first place.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I love that you're mentioning the importance of our bionic advisors because they're such a big part of what we provide in terms of a service for our members. And so I love that we're going to be talking about that as well. And then it's great that you talk about the assumptions that your healthcare providers can make when you are a competitive athlete. Just assuming, all right, here's someone who's a competitive athlete. They probably taking care of them. They're exercising. That's good enough. I'm not going to spend too much time thinking or asking any questions about that whole area. So yeah, I love that. That's something you've taken advantage of with our program. So let's talk a little bit about kind of expectations coming in. What were you hoping to kind of optimize? Did you feel, you said you had some trouble like putting things into practice. What were some of the things that you were hoping to focus on?
Yeah, this is funny. Anna probably would have a better answer as to what my original goals are. I feel like they change every time I meet with her. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think originally I was experiencing some nerve pain, and I wasn't sure if it was related to physical activity or I felt like I had like just a generally high anxiety level. So we kind of talked through that. I think that I did a lot better job of managing my stress, and she helped me a lot with recognizing that from an outsider's perspective, being like, yeah, actually, this is not a normal level of stress. And so let's like, what can we do to, help optimize that? And I think a big part of it now is I resisted help on my nutrition for so long. Part of it being my gymnastics background, I feel like I was hyper fixated on food for like my entire upbringing. And
Mm-hmm.
then I got to undergrad, I guess, I had dorm food, and then I lived in my sorority and had like a chef, and I was just like eating whatever was available. I didn't necessarily think too much on it. So I don't think I ever fully processed thinking about food and meal prepping and all of the things. So she helped me a lot with understanding the importance of planning my meals before work, and just like things that are maybe so small and mundane but ended up being really impactful for me. So that has been kind of something that we've been working on. Like, what do I need to get when I go to Costco? Should I get little hummuses or little whatever? And it ended up being like honestly life changing. Um,
Oh,
and then
wonderful.
and then recently, I am getting married at the end of the year. And
Hmm.
so I'm having this battle. And I feel like a lot of people maybe experience this with like, well, I have to look like this in my wedding dress, and I have to be on this like exercise plan and be dieting and whatever. The culture, wedding culture has gotten so bad. And
Hmm.
so I told her up front, I'm like, okay, I feel like this is going to become an issue, and it hasn't yet, but I can feel it starting. And so just having her to talk through that and like talk through the things that maybe I'm seeing on the internet, and to help get ahead of it has been really helpful. And so like I'm really thankful for Anna and just like walking me through that journey, especially as I'm kind of going through that this year too.
That's wonderful. You said a couple of things that I think are really important to highlight. Number one, you had some goals when you started the program, and they're not the same as the goals that you're working on right now. And so maybe you could tell folks how often you meet with Anna to give an idea of how you're doing goals check in and kind of updating that.
So I think one of the key things is the flexibility of it. I definitely have a job where it ebbs and flows. So over the holidays, I had less going on, so maybe I was able to meet more. And then I probably dropped off and stopped responding for maybe 2 to 3 months. And Anna would always check in and do check ins that way, but actually physically meeting with her
Hmm.
changes. So at this point, leading into the summer and into my wedding in October, I'm meeting with her biweekly, and it's like a 30-minute, and I don't ever do like the video. I'll just do a call, and then I take it as a break from work to go do like a walk and talk, which is actually one of my goals right now, is to take lunch breaks and be outside, and then I get to meet with her as well.
Excellent, excellent. I didn't get to say congratulations on the
Oh,
upcoming
thank you.
wedding. That's great. And yeah, so I love that you check in pretty regularly, but you mentioned you have flexibility. You can also check in a way that works within your schedule. So you're doing it kind of these lunchtime breaks, which is great. I also really liked how you brought up the pressures that you're experiencing about expectations around how you should appear related to your wedding. And I think that's true. We can extrapolate that in so many ways. It's summertime. I need to get into my bathing suit, or I'm going to have this activity, or whatever it is that we're hearing or seeing on the internet, because there's a lot of expectations around how we should physically appear or what we may even need to physically be capable of. And so knowing that that was like, all right, I'm going to be receiving these messages that are telling me about certain expectations, and I want to have like a healthy reality check on that. And it sounds like she's been able to help kind of act as that sounding board for you.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's even when I'm saying things out loud, I can be thinking them in my head, but when I say them to Anna, it's
Hmm.
another person to be like, okay, well, let's talk a little bit more about that. And then I'm like, oh, that's a good point. I probably should think more about that. And so just saying it out loud and having those check-ins where I can meet and chat in outside of the chat function is
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's great. Actually, I love that you mentioned that because, as you said, you can use the chat feature on our program where you can communicate by messaging, or you can set up calls like you're doing. So you have a whole variety of ways of connecting with our team. There was something else that you had said about about nutrition and just having stress. This is what it was. You were saying talking with her, it sounds like it helped you also recognize that there were times when your stress level was quite high, and it maybe was even manifesting as physical symptoms. And talking it through with her helped you recognize, like, actually my stress level is quite high. I might actually be feeling overwhelmed right now. Is that correct in how I'm describing that?
yeah. Yeah, so I think that, I mean, in many times people will reach out because they're feeling some sort of physical symptom or pain or, and that is what got me thinking originally, okay, this is painful or just uncomfortable. I should probably do something about it. Um, but it sneaks up on you in many funny ways. People will always say, like, oh, well, maybe it's stress. And you just
Hmm.
push it off. You're like, yeah, whatever. Everybody's stressed. Everybody's tensed up. Like, I'm sitting like this all day typing. That's
Right.
probably the case. But you don't really truly like figure out that there are so many other things that are a part of it until you start like ice picking away at everything. And so
Hmm.
I think that I did a good job of starting over the winter, which I think was tough. And winter is just tough for me generally. And
Hmm.
now going into the spring, I can kind of like look back and see the progress that I've made.
Hmm.
And I sort of almost forgot about the physical symptoms I was feeling because they slowly started to go away. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's funny how that works. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, I love that. I think that that's so important and so easy for us to forget in terms of our progress. So one of the things that I'm hoping, and it sounds like you're getting out of your Bionic membership, is kind of tracking progress over time, and hearing that you're having these wins, where it's like, oh, I didn't even realize that was really difficult, really uncomfortable for me, really unpleasant, and impacting my quality of life. And now that's just already gone and resolved itself. So
yeah.
that's
And
really great.
I think that like one of the things that I love about the program too, I mentioned this at the beginning, but growing up as an athlete and as a gymnast, I was um like always just healthy. I was like born with a heart condition, but that was really the only thing, like seasonal allergies and that was it. And so I was never given like true information really about anything. It was like checking the box, like you went to your physical, great job, how's gymnastics going? And then that's it. And I
Hmm.
was only going somewhere for physical therapy if I was injured or if I was in pain, I would go to sports medicine. And like that was it. That was my entire relationship with the healthcare system.
Mm.
So I don't know. It's just like interesting to completely change my mentality because I would see myself as a generally like active and healthy person. But like now that I'm in this program and in this setting, like, okay, but I could still be doing so many things so much better to like be a better version of myself, to feel better, to prepare for something in the future. It's like it's just like a different way of looking at it. Instead of being on the back end of trying to fix things, I'm like looking ahead. And I've never really done that. So,
Right. Yeah, that's wonderful. I love how you frame that. It's interesting. I think uh, it's really interesting to hear about the space around being a competitive athlete and not actually being given much information on healthy nutrition or training. I mean, because you're expected to be able to compete at such a high level. These things are super important. So I'm glad you're getting that information now.
yeah, and I think that's like what originally drew me to working in wouldn't say I work in sports science, but just like in that general realm
Hmm.
is wanting to know more because I didn't have that when I was a gymnast. And
Hmm.
the interesting thing I think is that there's like so much information out there, but there's no path, there's no like set structure of getting the information to the athletes, and it's different whether you're in college or professional or a youth athlete. And I think for like youth athletes specifically, if my parents weren't helping me get the information or I wasn't looking for the information myself or interested in it generally, I wasn't getting it. And I absolutely wasn't getting it from my coaches because
Right.
because they don't know, and they also we didn't have like those resources. So
Right. Right. Yeah, we are living in, so much information is out there now. Um, every day it makes it easier to access high level information, even with AI now. Just chat GPT, give me some information. So, yeah, there is a lot more access to information now. But I think it is important that, yes, you can get information on the internet, but having someone who has the knowledge as well to guide you through that information and to sift and sort and learn how to make it actionable for yourself is also super important.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, We talked a little bit about how your perspective has changed since you became a Bionic member. Would you say that there are any insights that you found from any of the lab testing or the body composition that has changed your perspective on your health moving forward, or things that you want to focus on?
Yeah. So from the body composition module, I work. Oh, sorry, my dog is making an appearance. I work in a lab where we do body composition testing. And so
Mhm.
I know what the numbers mean and like how you would go about potentially like increasing lean mass and whatever. But I think that the importance of having a team, whether that's like working with you and Anna and looking at your body composition in a way that brings in like everything that I've ever said to her about sleep and everything that I've ever said about nutrition and my goals and things like she'll remember stuff from like a year ago that I said one time. I mean, obviously she has notes, but
Right, right.
and so like bringing it all together and
Hmm.
so it's not just like you're going in and you're doing this body composition test one time and then you go through it one time and you never look at it again, but
Right.
the fact that it is like taking everything that you've said in a chronic way and potentially a test or whether it's like the labs or whatever it is and then you keep coming back to it.
Yes,
I
yes.
haven't gotten to the point where I've done my labs again. I
Hmm.
think that actually is coming up soon.
Hmm.
But I would be interested because I feel like so much has changed like with my nutrition. I'm just like eating a lot more and focusing on like eating throughout the day and adding in more vegetables and taking my supplements more regularly and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
I feel different, so I think that maybe my labs will be different, so I'm interested to be able to see that
Yeah,
like when the time comes.
that's great. Can you tell us a little bit of how you feel different? Like, what do you
Yeah.
notice?
I think that my energy level is a lot better. I've been so one of this is funny. One of I should be better about this, but one of my big goals was charging my Aura ring
Hmm.
because I'm just not good at charging things. I always like don't have my phone or my computer charged. So I wasn't really tracking my sleep for a while there. And
Hmm.
so one of my goals was to track and then be better about looking at my sleep. And alcohol was like significantly impacting my sleep, especially on Fridays and Saturdays are
Hmm.
really the only days that I would drink alcohol to begin with. And then I was realizing that that was really impacting me going into the week. And then Sundays I didn't want to do anything. And so on Sundays I wasn't prepping my food. I wasn't like setting myself up for the week and so I would feel really overwhelmed like Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
And so, one of the ways that I think I feel like tremendously different is my energy levels don't really change all that much throughout the week anymore. I used to feel like I'm dragging my feet on Monday and Tuesday, and I
Hmm.
just thought everybody feels like that. Like
Hmm.
everybody hates Mondays and Tuesdays. Like what is wrong? But now I actually like look forward to Sundays because I look forward to prepping my meals, and then
Hmm.
I feel more energized going into the week.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's
now
great.
Thursdays and Fridays are like more. I feel a little bit more tired now because it's at the end of the week. Um,
Right.
I think one of the second like big things that I've accomplished over my time so far has been I would wake up and I don't know, maybe most people go on their phone to check their texts or like something, but I was just starting to mentally clock into my job the second that I opened my eyes.
Yeah.
And so I would like okay, well, like what emails did I get and is someone what time do I need to be there? And so I would start working my brain would be already on work way before I was actually physically there. And so Anna and I had talked about trying instead of doing like music when I'm on the way to work, maybe doing a podcast and using like personal mode. And like that's something so easy I could have maybe got to or thought of myself, but I never thought about that.
Yeah.
So I take a lot more time in the morning now to have like restorative time. So I have my alarm go off and then I will like make my coffee, but my food is already prepped now, which
Hmm.
is great. And so then I
Yeah.
just grab my food and then I will listen to a podcast and like enjoy the time that I have on the bus. And then when I get to work, I'm like, okay, now I'm in work mode. And so that has been helping like a lot with just setting myself up for each day.
This is great. I love hearing all of this. This is
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, I mean, you're saying so many things, like you said, like, okay, well, and I would say this to patients a lot of times too. I would say, okay, it's not rocket science what I'm going to share with you, but it doesn't mean that it's not important or that it's not going to have a big impact on your life. And so I love that you have been able to make these observations where, okay, I'm having some alcohol, but actually it's having a much larger impact than I realize in terms of affecting my energy level throughout the week, and then also my ability to prep for the week. And as you describe the food prep, I think that just takes a lot of stress off your plate, because it's not trying to figure out, all right, what am I going to have for lunch today? What am I going to have for dinner today? It's like a lot of that repetitive, like small tasks that you have to accomplish, but you've already squared that away at the beginning of the week.
Yeah, and I think like there's also a lot of stigma around meal prep. I think it's like you're preparing the same thing and I don't know, like maybe it's just like sitting in a Tupperware and then you're just microwaving it. And so I had like a big problem with that going into this because I just
Mm-hmm.
like my food to be fresh and I don't like to feel like I'm eating the same thing over and over again. And
Mm-hmm.
Anna helped me a lot with that about like batch prepping things that it doesn't bother me. So like fruits and vegetables and starches I can prep and I don't
Mm-hmm.
care if the potatoes have been in there for a while or I don't care about the vegetables, but I have to prepare my protein each day.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, like mentally I just like don't feel like it's fresh.
Yeah.
And even though I'm not fully preparing my meals, I kind of felt like it was all or nothing. And
Yes. Yeah.
she helped me realize it's not. You can do a little bit and it'll help you a lot. And I don't know, I was very skeptical at the beginning, but
Right.
it's very helpful and it's been a really good system for me and like preparing snacks and things at the beginning of the week. So,
Mm-hmm. That's great. I love how you walked through your process and how you made that something that works within your, framework and your understanding and your preferences. So that's really great. Like, okay, you can prep the veggies and your starch, but I'm going to do my protein fresh every day. That's really good. Is do you and Anna have like a protein goal target for yourself that you're working on? Is that something that you feel like has been easy or difficult? I'm asking
yeah.
because we have a lot of members who are always like, "Oh my God,
Yes.
how do I eat protein?"
Everyone is worried about the protein goals. I actually just recently saw a funny video that's like, do you want to hang out? I don't have time for anything. I'm blending up chicken breasts and trying to meet my protein goals. And I was like, that's honestly me. It's actually funny that you ask specifically about protein because that is really the only thing that I keep track of each day. I feel like worrying about all of my macronutrients and tracking my food was just getting to be too much.
Hmm.
And so I think I did like 3 to 4 days of trying to food log and it like wasn't really going well. And I was missing things and forgetting to write them down. So it wasn't super sustainable. So we just settled on like, this is the general protein goal. And then how can we fit that in? And then in terms of like actually fitting it in throughout the day, I just wasn't getting enough protein with breakfast. And
Hmm.
so for me, it was like specifically the sheer amount. Like I was scrambling one egg and putting in like one sausage. And
Hmm.
it was fine. I was full for a little bit, but I just had to add more stuff. So I'll have like 3 eggs and 2 sausages and fruit.
Hmm.
And then this is also like funny. You think it's so easy, but I would start eating my breakfast,
Hmm.
go do something. I would go have, I don't know, make my coffee or take my dog on a walk, and I would leave it. And then when I came back, I wasn't hungry anymore. So I'm trying to be better about like, I'm sitting and I'm eating and I'm going to eat all of this, and then I will go do the next thing.
Great, great.
So that also helps with like, I mean, getting my full protein in instead of like half eating it and then going on to
And
the next thing.
right, right. This is great. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So, what would you say to other professionals in the health space or who have health background who feel like they might assume they already know enough about health and fitness? How would you say that bionic health might, work for them?
Yeah. I think that's kind of a two-part question. So, for one, I can see how you might feel that way. In some instances, when I'm talking about like health and nutrition with other people in the field, I like to preface with what I do and what my background is, just to give a little bit of insight so that if somebody's explaining something, they know that I have the background. But then,
Hmm.
of course, like still letting them say what they need to say. So I think I like opened up with Anna, and Anna and I know each other really well at this point, to be like, hey, this is my background. This is what I kind of know a lot about. And this is what I don't really know much about. And
Yeah.
so being honest with whoever you're talking to be open to say, I don't know that much about this topic is really hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, like, one, to recognize, and then two, to actually say that. And then three, to be open to feedback. And maybe it's different than what you know, or like, oh, well, actually, I've heard this study said this, or I saw this on the internet. What do you think about that? And
Yeah.
so I feel like that's like another part of it. Sometimes I'll even challenge Anna to be like, well, like, how important is it that I do X, Y, and Z? And then
Hmm.
it's a
Hmm.
conversation. And it's not like, you know, it's never combative in any way, but just, oh, well, I heard this and I heard this. And is this true? And I think that like having those conversations is really important no matter what, but specifically in this. And so, like, offering your opinion too. And then it's more of a back and forth. It's never just Anna being like, you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do this, and if you don't do it by the next time we meet, then you failed.
Right.
Like,
Right.
never like that. And it's more so like fluid and a conversation. So
Right. It sounds pretty collaborative, like you're sharing ideas, sharing
yeah.
knowledge,
And
and
then
working
I
together.
think like the second part of it, to like what would I say to other people in the field about bionic, um is I feel like I'm pretty good with accountability. I feel like if I say something, I'm going to do it. But
Mhm.
for some reason, maybe it's just because I'm in this space, it is so hard for me to like stay on it with a consistent routine of exercise and nutrition when I
Mhm.
get really busy. And so, like, there's periods where I'm really good, there's periods where I'm not really good. And so, this helps to have something consistent. And so, maybe in the periods where I'm like falling through the cracks with my own nutrition and exercise, then I have somebody there consistently.
Mhm.
Maybe you're not going to use the service all of the time. I'm not messaging my physician all of the time. But when I fall into those periods of time, especially like this winter, you have a support system there for when you need it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Um, one other thing I thought was really important that you just mentioned is you talked about like what happens if you're not following through with your goals or, completing your tasks. And I think that this causes people in general, not just our members, but just people in general, trepidation like, oh, I didn't follow through on that. And sometimes that kind of like works against the person because then they won't reach out and connect when
Yeah.
that's the exact time when you need to. So can you talk
Yeah.
about that a bit?
Yes. So it's ironic that you say this because I did cancel my call yesterday with Anna,
Hmm.
partially because I was busy, but I also didn't do any of the things that we talked about in our previous meeting. Which she doesn't know that. So if she's listening, then. But yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things is like when you feel either disappointed in yourself or you're not meeting some sort of expectation, the easiest thing to do is to avoid the problem or to avoid the confrontation of whatever it is. And then now I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to message Anna and be like, oh, actually, do you want to meet today? Um, but yeah, so I think that is one of the things that the advisors do to help with that is consistently to like check in with you. And they
Mhm.
know that I get so many messages every day. And so maybe I'm not going to respond just then, but then finding a time to like actually meet and then talk through everything. And I don't know. I personally have never felt disappointed that I haven't met a goal, and I have not met many of the goals that we've set just because it's like a conversation.
Mhm.
But I also can totally see that it's a lot easier to avoid. And so that's probably a problem that I'm facing and that probably a lot of other people are facing too.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking about like, I think a lot of times what can get in our way is that we assume when we don't achieve a goal that it's a personal failing. Like, I'm not, dedicated enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not whatever. I'm not doing enough. And that does not feel good at all. And I like that we're speaking about this because it helps us talk about what if in the moment when you're not achieving a goal that was set, it means that you need to identify what barriers might be getting in the way that, me personally, when I'm not getting something done, it's hard for me to identify what barriers are in the way. I'm usually assuming it's like something I was not organized enough or I didn't remember or something of that nature. But there could be blockers in the way that I'm not even necessarily noticing that are making it difficult for me to achieve that goal. So
Yeah, I
again,
definitely feel that. Like, I think my last call with Anna, we were talking about, I can't even remember, but it's something along the lines of resistance training, because this
mhm,
has been my big problem is fitting it in more than one time a week. It's a small goal, but to try to do 2 times a week. And I just remember myself being like, well, like this is the reason why that's not going to work. And then, we talk through it. I'm like, okay, but then, that's a good point. But I think that this is the reason why that's not going to work. And so talking through it and recognizing like what the barrier is on the
mhm,
call with her to
mhm,
already surpass, like, well, the mornings I walk my dog and then I do this and then I have to take the bus. And so there's really no time there.
yeah,
And if I did make time, I'd have to get up at like 4:30 a.m. because I'm already getting up early and
mhm,
like trying to talk through the process and
yes.
recognizing what the barriers are is like so key. And that's been really helpful for me.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Right. I like thinking about it. Like what is the system overall? And if, how can we evaluate the system being me operating within my life? But how can I evaluate the system and what systems issues are there rather than like, putting it on as a judgment of good, bad, capable, not capable on myself? Because that just generates a lot of like bad self feelings. So,
Yeah. And I think one of the things we've done too is pivoted. So it's like, this is still a goal that I absolutely have, but it's just not working right now. So can we just like table it and come back to it another time
yeah.
and then bring it up again when I'm in a better headspace for it? And that has been really helpful because if something is not working after a few meetings, then we will just pivot and come back to it.
Yeah, that's
That's
great.
what we do.
One thing I thought of just as you were saying that is I think it's also helpful working with your bionic advisor and your physician as well as part of the bionic team to help evaluate not only what identify what the goals are, but why are they goals. So that's something that we're starting to talk about a lot here. Like, what is your bionic why? Like, what's the reason for creating these goals for ourselves? What's the ultimate reason? And it's different from like I'll have people sometimes say like I want to hit a weight goal or I want to run this speed. I think what I'm hoping for even larger that is like what's the greater grander vision for yourself. And so like for my bionic why it's wanting to be fit and healthy to like play with my son. And like if we want to go on a hike, I want to feel good. If we're going to go to the water park for the day, I want to feel good. I want to feel energized. And that by
Mhm.
the end of the day, I'm not having back pain and exhausted and like, moaning and groaning about my feet hurting. So like I like this vision of myself of being like fit, active, and resilient. And so I was just thinking, like thinking through people's goals with them to help them understand why is this ultimately fit into my picture is super important.
Yeah, and I think that that can change so much. Like from, I think I've probably been a member for 10 months ish. It's like
Mm-hmm.
coming up on my,
Then you're 1 year.
yeah, on my 1 year. But what I would have said at the beginning and what I would say now is so different
Mm,
of like why I'm still a member, but not, I think that that would change so much across time.
hmm.
So it's cool.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, we loved having you as a member at Bionic, and I know Anna loves working with you. We're so grateful that you've come on Medicine 3.0 podcast to share your personal experience working with Bionic Health team. And it's been a pleasure chatting with you.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Medicine 3.0. We make this podcast so that you know where to turn for good information on keeping you and your loved ones healthy. Feel free to check us out at bionichealth.com, where we can help you live a longer, happier life.